This is not a video about heat lights, it's about synthropic bioactive enclosures. How's it going, lads? Welcome back to Reptile Talk, the channel where I ramble around talking about reptiles. Easy enough. Well, today I have an interesting topic. I don't want to say that it's something I came up with, but I kind of just fused different ideas. Those ideas being, first of all, bioactive enclosures, the idea of having there are multiple definitions, but having a miniature ecosystem in your enclosure. That means live plants, cleanup crew, microfauna, and then potentially a centerpiece animal, dart frogs, snakes, lizards, whatever it may be. The other concept that I kind of want to fuse in here is synthropy, from syntropic agroforestry, which is a way of cultivating, which is regenerative. The idea being that, first of all, a multi-cropping, so you plant multiple species of vegetation, of fruit trees, fruit shrubs, vegetable shrubs, or whatever, and they all have different strata. So you have high canopy trees, mid canopy trees, then you have shrubs, grasses, roots, vines potentially as well. So you're trying to create a whole ecosystem in that forest, or in that food forest basically. Where it becomes interesting, the synthropy part is you want to speed up natural processes. So if you look at a forest, tree grows over time, sheds its leaves, leaves fall down to the ground, decompose through, the microfauna that was mentioned before, decomposers who eat the waste from the trees or the vegetation, eat it up, create waste, and that waste then feeds your plants again, or your trees. Now you can speed that up by pruning, basically. And also another thing in gardening, when you prune, your plants tend to come back stronger. I just pruned a mango tree a couple of weeks ago, and that one branch which I cut off is now giving me 4 new offshoot, which wasn't the point. I was trying to get rid of the branch, and now I have 5 more to get rid of. But so I thought we can use this in a captive setting of reptiles and amphibians and arachnids. I don't want to discriminate against any of our pets out there. Not that they're pets, actually. Especially this one I'm going to take you on. This is definitely not a pet. So I'm going to show you an example of how I would do this in an enclosure. Take you along for the ride. So yeah, let's do that now. Okay, so this is the enclosure. You can see that's the bothrops right there behind the syngonium. We have a maranta here, and then a peace lily here. And so you can see this is going to be the main focus of our synthropy. You can see that there's a leaf that burned there because the heat lamp is right there. And there are a couple of leaves that are just doing kind of meh. So we're going to cut those off. And I think I'm going to cut this maranta leaf here, since it's at the end of its days. And since our friend is sitting there, I'm going to stay away from that corner. And that's a pothos growing there. This setup is probably a good 5 months old. The soil is just a mixture of dirt, sand, a lot of sand because our dirt has a very high clay content. And then just added in some normal potting soil and a bit of compost on top, and then some leaf litter. I don't have the luxury of being able to buy buy these things, so none of this is fancy packaged, except the potting soil, but it's not that fancy either. But I don't use any fancy packaged products. I just use things straight out of nature. And I'm just doing fine, you know, as long as you have good vents, heating, the animals' kind of primary needs are met, you're fine. At least until now, that's been my experience. Boom. Cut. And cut. This big one up there. Cut. I'm gonna use some tweezers to take this one out. Not out, but that's another thing. So I leave my leaves in. Some people say, oh, green leaves shouldn't be left inside. I think that's just up to personal judgment. So the thing is, if I keep this at a 90% humidity all the time, these green leaves are never going to dry out and decompose. However, I don't keep my enclosure at 90% humidity all the time, and it's right under the heat lamp. So this is gonna dry out relatively quickly. And then if I see that it starts to rot and look funny, become gooey, I'll just take it out. So this system is a bit more labor intensive. Anyways, I think it's good. It keeps one busy, and we're gonna be encouraging plant growth and make this enclosure look much better in much less time. So what I'm gonna do now, since the girl over here is interested, I'm just gonna take my stick and poop her nose and let her know that it's not feeding time. Right? Look at that. She's in go mode. So I'm gonna use another trick. Normally, you would take your animal out. That's a common practice. But honestly, with her, it might just be easier to leave her in and let her know that it's not feeding time, because she does not like being handled at all. That's the last leaf there. Again, go in with my long tweezers. These are not tweezers, but forceps. Go in, put it down, and I'm actually gonna try to put it right under where the heat spot is, because first of all, the area is barren. You don't want any bare piece of soil showing. That's just an area where the soil will end up losing humidity. So yeah, you don't want that. So you want all your soil covered. And then another thing you'll see, like down here, there are a couple of pieces of shed. So once again, I leave the shed in, and this is up to, you know, you to kind of gauge. If it starts looking kind of funny, you take the piece of shed out. But here, the soil is doing so well, it's so active that the shed is gone within a couple of days, really. They just eat it up and poop it back out, and it's food for the plants. We've done our work for this enclosure. All we're gonna do now is just give it a nice soaking. Just spray the enclosure and let it do its work. I might take that leaf and move it back here a little bit so it dries out. Put the water bowl back in, and we'll be good to go. We have our old water sprayer. I'm just gonna give everything a nice soaking. So here's the thing. If I were to spray this every day, then these green leaves would just rot, smell funny, attract bacteria, and this is not what you want in an enclosed space. You have to remember these are enclosed ecosystems, and in the open, out in nature, things have much more space to develop, bacteria included. So here, it won't balance itself out that well if you just, keep bad things unchecked. So you wanna avoid that. However, I only spray this enclosure 2 to 3 times a week. So these things are gonna dry out, and I live in a relatively dry area, so this heat lamp is gonna do just fine. And then again, if I see that this is just trying to rot away and not actually dry up, I'll take it out. I'm here every day, I manage this system, so it's on me if anything goes wrong. Another thing, so you can see that this Maranta has some dead leaves. In a normal case, I would go in here and cut those out as well and let them drop to the floor so the system moves faster. However, due to the nature of this animal, I'm not going to do that. If I ever take her out, I might. So with a ball python, for example, it would be much easier to manage. Another thing you want to consider then is your plant selection when you're doing your setup. Like this golden leaf pothos hasn't shed a single leaf as far as I can remember. There's a leaf there that's not doing so well, but so its rate of shedding is quite low. Whereas these guys here have already shed multiple leaves, and so they put back into the system. Here you can see what I'm talking about. This is a leaf which, I don't know when it fell, I don't keep count, but the system is not that old. This is fully dry and being used up by the cleanup crew in this enclosure. All right, we're gonna put the water bowl back in. Close it up. And that's maintenance on Bothrops asper done. So to recap, we did quite a heavy pruning on this peace lily, but we can see there are some new leaves growing. So less energy is going to go towards those leaves that were dying anyways, and more energy is going to go into these leaves here. We just cut one leaf off of the Maranta and gave everything a nice bit of watering. And that's it. Got another enclosure. This is more of a desert type enclosure. So what I'm gonna do here, you can see that this plant in the back is not doing too well. I'm gonna cut it really low. I'm gonna cut it right about here. Boom. That's gonna come out. I can stick this in water, replant it. So then this cutting, I can just stick into water. It's gonna give roots, and then I'll find a new place to plant it. What I'm also gonna do here is just, without messing with her too much, get this old shed out. It's not that old, it's been in here for a couple of days. How do I call it? The bioactivity level in this enclosure is not that high, so we don't have loads of isopods and springtails because there's just less biological matter for them in here. I've imported these leaves into the enclosure. You can see that I have a Haworthia, and that's a aloe cultivar. I forgot the name of that one. Yeah, I also don't know the names of these two back there, but they are succulents. And what I'm also gonna do is just quickly give them a little watering, just a tiny bit. Don't need too much. We don't want to get the humidity too high in here. And I'm also gonna fill up her water bowl. Not too much. So we don't want the humidity to get too high in here. And so the takeaway here is the soil is just poorer, so you need to enrich it somehow. If you enrich it too much, it's gonna hold on to humidity too much. That's not good in this type of enclosure because she is a desert dweller. She doesn't like it humid. Actually, she'll get sick. So again, have to be on top of that, and water accordingly and take things out accordingly. So with this system, there are a lot of things that just come down to personal judgment and experience, which, you know, goes along with experimentation. It's supposed to push you out of your comfort zone. You're definitely going to kill some plants. I've unfortunately killed my fair share. I have different systems, so this is a fully planted tank, but I have some systems like, for example, over here where it's just wood chips and then the plant is in a pot, and there I'll do the same thing. All the leaves that I cut off, I just put in that pot on top, and it just helps keep that humidity inside, and that lets me get away with misting fewer times a week. Now, of course, this all depends on where you are. If your relative humidity in your room is like 0 or close to, then, you know, your enclosures are gonna dry up quicker. And if your relative humidity is 80% all the time, then, you know, it's gonna be harder to keep the humidity lower in your enclosures. This just works for where I am. I wanna say that I'm usually at 40 to 50% humidity. Temperatures are really good, tropical type temperatures, so all of my enclosures have one heat spot which comes on only a couple of hours a day at different times, so in the morning and towards noon. But anyways, this is not a video about heat lights, it's about synthropic bioactive enclosures. This is more labor intensive, so you're gonna have to be on top and manage it just like in a synthropic agroforestry system where these guys are out there all the time working on their plants. You have to be in here checking which leaves are not doing good, which leaves are doing better, what plant in what position is doing better. I change out lights, you know, I don't have like fancy X brand plant lights. I go into a hardware store and I just try out different lights. And so I think I'm over the years I'm starting to figure it out. Well, then you think you've started figuring things out, and then something happens, and you know, you start re-questioning everything. But yeah, basically that's it. I showed you what it's all about. Tailor it to your needs. You know, if you have snake plants in your enclosure, those leaves are gonna live much longer than these leaves here. So if you can, put a couple of plants in there that shed leaves quicker. Usually aroids do pretty good in that. And yeah, if it's a desert enclosure, then what I do on some of my desert enclosures is I take leaf litter and I just sprinkle a little bit around where my plants are. Yeah, because I only water them once a week, and that's already a lot because it brings up the humidity for these desert animals that have very low humidity. And then yeah, it's just really trying to find the balance of not having the humidity spike too high, but making it so that the soil can hold on to moisture longer for those plants to survive. And honestly, that's just going to be trial and error because every system is different. Especially for me, because I use different soils everywhere, different plants everywhere, different enclosure sizes. I build everything myself, so I'm also playing with how vents are. Some of my vents are clearly too small. It just keeps 80% humidity for a week. I just spray once and the plants are thriving. But yeah, that means that there's too much, there's not enough airflow in that enclosure, definitely. So if you're gonna take anything away from this is don't be scared to experiment. Prune, don't be scared of pruning in your enclosures, and just have fun with it. Take care of your animals, spend time on the enclosures and make their lives better. We decided to put them in an enclosure for one reason or another, so let's give them the best life that we can possibly do. And on that note, see you guys in the next one. Peace.